Welcome to This Dementia Life, created by Dementia Action Alliance. Our website is daanow.org. I'm proud to be your host, Chuck McClatchy, and I live my dementia life with Alzheimer's disease. During this Dementia Life podcast, we will have conversation with inspiring people and the amazing people that care about us. My guest today is my longtime friend and amazing person, Gary LeBlanc, who is the founder of Dementia Mentors, and he is also the education director for the Dementia Spotlight Foundation. Gary, kind of introduce yourself and tell us where your drive comes up to help people with dementia that you seem to have.
Well, Chuck, first, thanks for having me. It's good to see you. And it's been quite a few years since we met in Colorado, right? As far as the drive goes, I mean, I took care of my parents, both parents. My dad, 12 years with Alzheimer's. We're going back 24 years. I took care of my mom right after dad died. It was mom's turn, 8 years with her with vascular dementia. I got another sibling right now that's diagnosed with early onset. So we're on a 24 straight year run. But as caregiving, I was born into it because I had an older sister that was born mentally retarded. I know nobody uses that term anymore, but that was her diagnosis on it. So at the age of 2, I was told, hey, hurry up and grow up to be big brother. So it was like I was fully born into it on it. So I don't know who was watching who. That girl ratted me out of more stuff than anything. But it was, you get the picture on it. So it was kind of bred into me, I would say, on it. But the education that we're doing and all this stuff on it, Dementia Mentors, we'll go back to that for a minute, is one of the most fantastic programs. I've been so pleased with going 8 years now on it. It's keeping people social. We had a meeting last night, I think from 1 to 11 o'clock. People just thanking us, man, without this. We do Zoom. We've been doing Zoom with people with dementia before anybody knew what Zoom was. All of a sudden, COVID hit, and it was like, hey, you ever heard of Zoom? And all these guys with dementia, like, yeah, we've been Zooming since 2011, right? It's like, it was kind of funny in a way. But one guy said to me, he goes, this right here, my computer screen, is now my window to my world. And we're keeping them social right from home. So that program is completely outstanding. We're doing mentoring program one-on-one on it. We do 46 virtual memory cafes a month. It's a lot. And we're international. We got people from the UK to South Africa and Venezuela. We're all over the globe on this. So daylight savings is coming up, and that just makes a mess of everything, man. Yeah, all these time zones, we're trying to figure out who's changing, who's not. It's a little crazy on that point.
Well, I want to say how much, Dementia Mentors meant to me, because when I found you guys, I was in a big hole. And you're a big reason I'm doing all that I'm doing right now, because you gave me a platform with Dementia Mentors.
I have seen that over and over again.
Knowing that there was a place where you could go and talk and socialize with people and see people that have been living with it for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, because to be social, especially on a computer, that's not everybody doesn't know how.
Right.
I think that's getting more and more, but what I like to talk about too is your education for law enforcement. I think I've been to one of your lectures, and it is amazing to see that in person. It really is. Talk about how really important that is to train law enforcement.
I did a class last Wednesday, and I walked in there, and they said, hey, Garrett, this is your 7-year anniversary. I'm like, no, I did not know that. But so I've been doing this basically for 7 years on EMT training, a little bit longer, maybe 10 years. But I'm fortunate enough that the state of Florida here has been working with me on it, and we're doing county by county and some of the cities. Sometimes we'll do a county sheriff's department, and they'll bring in a whole bunch of city cops, little town cops will come in, the state patrol comes in. So I get a room of 40, 50 people every other month, sometimes twice a month, different counties on it, to just talk about dementia awareness. We go over all the different types of dementia, because I wanted to understand, you might be dealing with somebody with Lewy bodies. You are not dealing with somebody with Alzheimer's. Completely different symptoms, characteristics, and all that. On front temporal lobe, we cover it all with them on it. Now, then the next step I take with onto them and said, I want you to understand what's happening in this house. When you get a 911 call, it's not only just the person with dementia you're going there for. The caregiver might not have slept in 2 days. And that's why you get in the call. So you're opening their eyes a lot on it. And I will say this, we go into communication behaviors, but at the end of the class, it's a 2-hour class we're doing with them. They have better questions than any other class I teach on any other matter anywhere else. We have to put 20, 30 minutes aside minimum, different questions from these guys on it. Now we're getting in stuff including like even guns, firearms. There's a lot of stuff that nobody really thinks of on the outside that these guys have to deal with.
Gary, why do you think it's been so difficult to get first responder, especially, police officers trained in kind of understanding dementia?
Honestly, the hardest part of getting any training to them is getting them off the street. I mean, it's right now, especially now, everybody's low on staff. Different world with the policing right now, and they're not recruiting. They can't recruit like they used to. I'm also doing the fire departments around here. The recruiting with them, these classes are full, every single one. They're young. They're 18 to 22. I mean, I have to try and I'm talking about Tim Conway, and they have no clue what I'm talking about. Man, I have to change my characters around and talk about different stuff on it. Man, on it. Once in a while, we'll see a veteran in the class. He might be a little bit older on it, stuff like that on it. But the police departments, they are struggling recruiting. It's a different world right now. I mean, you can't turn on the news without seeing one either shot or killed. I mean, honestly. So I feel for them. Until I really started working with them, I didn't understand. There's a lot that these guys go through. I mean, they need some, they have support groups for themselves. So people don't realize what's going on behind the scenes of them, but they run into stuff and they can't go home and talk about it. And they're holding this stuff in. So it's just good to sit down with these guys and women. I mean, it's all variants on who's in these classes on it. I love it. It's one of the best things I do, man. I love teaching those classes.
It's got to be. I know that we just had an incident here on the West Coast, someplace where a lady, I think, picked up and forgot to pay leaving a Walgreens or one of those, and the interaction with the police was as bad as it can get.
Right.
And in a way, I felt sorry for the policeman also, because he didn't understand.
And probably sided with the manager of the store to get everything all ranked up on it. I mean, but I'm telling all the families, get a note from your doctor saying you don't have to be a HIPAA violation, just saying that my loved one has a cognitive impairment. Right? Sign it by the doctor and put it on your phone. If you could have showed that note to the manager, you could have just escalated. Here's the thing. That lady's running through the store, putting everything in her purse. The manager comes up and goes, "You're stealing everything." She goes, "I didn't put that in there." "Well, now you're lying to me. We got you on film." She's not lying. She's telling what her brain is telling her at that time. And it just goes way downhill from there.
It happened to me once. And this was a couple of years ago when we were in New Mexico. Bobby was doing something and we were in a hurry, and I ran into the store to pick up a few things. Well, I went through the self-checkout and I scanned everything. I put it in bags and I put it in the cart and I left. And this guy comes yelling and screaming, "You didn't pay for it. You didn't pay for it."
Those darn machines.
Totally red. I came back in and I paid for it. I says, "Look, I'm sorry. I have dementia." And the look that he gave me was like, "Yeah, right. I've heard that crap before." And so, Bobby and I went and I said, "Well, can we see the manager?" And, talk to the manager. I go, there's a lot of places around here that have elderly and people living with dementia. I said, this is going to happen again, to have that kind of reaction to somebody. And it was kind of, well, yeah, but we don't have any training on it, and we're not going to pay for any training on it. So
yeah, this is
all the time. I could see how that could happen very easily.
It escalates very fast. Get everybody, get the person with dementia, all now the anxiety is building, confusion's getting stronger, and it just goes downhill. I tell the cops when I'm doing the training, you're going to want to hope the person's at the Dollar Trees, but it's only $1. You can just pay the bill yourself and just let it go, man. I'm like, you're going to be better off just taking the money in your pocket and paying it and let it go, man, on it.
It is.
But there's sort of things that'll help. And the problem is you got to get the families involved. They have to, like I said, you need to get a note here, carry it on your phone. Power of attorney, everything should be on your phone.
I went to the emergency room with chest pains, and I have never been. They had 23 beds in the emergency room, and they had hallway 1, hallway 2, hallway 3, and hallway 4. Well, I was bed 6 in hallway 4. This is in the emergency room.
Yeah. Did you get admitted?
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to get to your second floor bed?
18 hours later.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? So you got dementia, you're sitting there. And at this point, they probably want to let your wife in, maybe with COVID going on.
I told her to leave. Yeah.
It was right. And then they closed the curtain, which never should be closed. Right. You see the environment, and you're sitting behind there going, nobody even knows I'm here. Because nobody's even stuck their head in there for an hour and a half.
No. Now, we're stuck out in the middle of a hallway, in a dark hallway, and you have people, gagging and choking and coughing and all up and down the line. Like you said, I was there for, I think, an hour before anybody even came and talked to me. So yeah, it's really bad.
We're on a roll doing the hospital training right before COVID hit, and then that really put a damper on that. I mean, so we're looking to get back into that in the hospital training again.
Yep.
But it's not quite there yet. But they're getting ready to start doing stuff. These hospitals.
Well, good.
Honestly, I'm going to tell you something, that for them not letting your family members in, they like that. They're not getting all the complaints, and so that might be a little longer before they start letting people back and their families back in. So
I could understand that a bit. I want to talk about your Dementia Spotlight Foundation. I know you're the education director. Tell us a little bit about the Spotlight Foundation.
Oh, great little foundation on this, and we work our behinds off, man, on it. We're grassroots. There's only 4 of us really that are working on this thing, but that's amazing what we get done we do more in a month than what some of the other foundations will do in a year. I'll be honest on it. I mean, next month is just unbelievable. We're so busy on stuff on it. But we also do dementia friendly, like you were talking before we started doing this thing on it. Whitney is really strong in Georgia Dementia Friends on it. We're doing connection cafes, which is like a virtual cafes out in public on it. We're running online support groups, in-person support groups, you name it. I mean, with Respite Care, we do free Respite Care for the caregivers that need it. All they need is a person with dementia, with a dementia diagnosis. It's short term. I mean, we'll give them like 25 hours of home care, but sometimes that's what the caregiver just needs. They need a timeout. And sometimes the person with dementia needs a timeout. It works both ways, right? It's, his 5 hours a week. Here's one afternoon a week, go away for 5 weeks. Take one afternoon off for 5 weeks. I mean, if somebody would offer me that with my dad, I would have jumped on in a heartbeat. So it's good stuff on it. Like I said, all the education that we're doing, and it's not just law enforcement, where we're training facilities, memory care units. I mean, skilled nursing on it. I got I just lined up a couple coming up in May in Tampa. So when we mentioned as I was doing in Colorado, I was training that one building out there. There's a couple of buildings up there on it. So I've been doing that stuff since 2008. But this is a good fit for me. I was trying to do everything myself with common sense caregiving, and I realized even if it's a small team, it's a team. You get so much more accomplished on it. I mean, so I'm happy to be where I'm at.
That's awesome, Gary. And I know one thing too, the training for, especially for even some of the memory care units, I kind of do something different than most people. I've been to the memory care units here in town. I tour them. I go back and I talk to the people in the back. And one of the places that I went to, and I want to know because I have prosthetic hips, I got brackets in my neck. I have other things. And if I sit for a while, I'm going to get very fidgety and because I'm in pain. And so I asked them, I said, how do you react when somebody you can see is starting to have kind of a bad day? They're fidgety, they won't sit still, they keep moving and things like this. And you know what one of those nurses said in the back, the first thing they do? Well, we work it out with a doctor and we have drugs available for them.
They run to the medicine cart.
First thing.
I know. I'm teaching them redirection. I mean, redirection through taste is huge. A little bowl of ice cream could fix half their problems sometimes. And they get a freezer full of it. Right?
It is.
My dad be a mess in the afternoon. I'd give him a nice bowl of ice cream and I get 20, 30 minutes of peace. I hear that spoon hitting the bottom and I'm running with the bucket. I'm like, here, man, you can have the whole thing, right? But redirection through taste is, people don't realize, even if you're eating a bowl of ice cream, you get a spoon in your hand, you're holding the bowl, you're moving. There's all this stuff happening. If I asked you how many steps it was to brush your teeth, you'd be amazed. It's like 32 steps. But you don't think about all this when you put it together. But with dementia, now you're concentrating on all these different steps, and it's take you out of where you were at, maybe calm you down, hopefully. But yeah, redirection through taste first, medication should be last.
In a latter state, I don't want to react and hit out at somebody because I'm sitting there on something hard and my back is killing me. Yeah. And they're just not even aware of it.
They really need to understand your family history.
Yes.
The first things I tell these people, I go, when the family is visiting, you need to ask questions then. This is when you ask all the questions, right? Because what's happening, you're still cognitively pretty good on it, but most of these people end up in those buildings they're way too late in most cases on it. And you can't get the information out of a lot of them. It's sad. Every time we move these people around, there goes another chunk of their life. There goes more history. If they had some history, they could use it. If you're a lieutenant in the Navy and you start acting up, they go, "Hey there, lieutenant, straighten up." Also, the guy's like, "Ooh, I'm in trouble again," right? You don't have that information, you can't use it.
A friend of ours, and I think you know him, Mike Belleville,
Yep.
said his idea was to make a video while we're cognizant. Tell them about us. This is what I like. This is where I've been. I spent 21 years in the military. I've always worked my entire life. And make it where, these are the things I don't like. I don't like liver. I don't like broccoli. I don't like this. I love.
I want my coffee, man. Like right.
Coffee in the morning before you even talk to me. I want my coffee. Yeah, I don't know, but hopefully, by people like you and the few others that are trying to teach people and to actually let families know. Gary, why do you think it's the communication, the family communication is so difficult? Why do you think that
Between
is?
family members, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest complaints I have is I'm the only one caring for my loved one, my brother, my sister, my uncle. Nobody will help. Everybody has their own life. They get their own kids, their job, and I've been going this way on it. Also, they end up in hospice. They're like, "How did you let mom get in hospice?" And you just want to look at that person and go, "Maybe if you've been here the last 4 years, But it is the most, they think Susie's doing a great job. She's got it all under control. They just don't understand what's actually happening. I talked to Susie on the phone, she's fine. I talked to mom on the phone, she's fine. Mom doesn't even know who the hell she just talked to. Susie's got chunks of hair falling out of the back of her head. I mean, and it is the number one complaint on it. Now, every once in a while, you run into a family where they got 6 sisters and they're all taking shifts, all taking turns, but that is rare.
It really.
So you wonder why these caregivers are falling apart and everything's going downhill on these families. And I don't know how to fix that. I mean, you need to call family meetings right at the beginning. You need to talk about who's going to drive this person 2 years from now. And you need to have that person involved with this conversation. I mean, of course, right? But sometimes you can't even get anybody at a table. I think, how is it going to get into the next generation? It's going to be worse. I mean,
that's why I would say that, dementia is a family disease. It's going to affect every individual in that family. And the earlier that you can get diagnosed,
yes, correctly,
and bring your family in and let them understand what's happening, what you're going to go through, and so important to let them know what you're afraid of, and
you got to have these open conversations. They need to be done early. You got to put all your plans together. Simple things like I said, I'm working with firearms. We need firearm trust. You need to if you have firearms, you can put a trust together. So even if you don't have dementia, but when you die, we want to will it to your son. If you don't have a firearm trust, it's going to probate. But this way, if something comes to a problem later on in life where all of a sudden Joe wants to carry his gun around wherever he goes with dementia, the person that's in charge of the fire trust can remove the guns.
Yes.
Other than that, you have to go in front of a judge, prove this person to come. You're talking 6 weeks.
Oh, at least.
Right. I mean, it's right. So all these little things are education we got to get out to the families and let them and talk about it. And we got a big event going on April 1st in Tampa. It's a full day of education. I got elder law attorney with me, another doctor. I finally got a doctor who actually understands dementia very well. She's conscientious. She goes to the people's houses. How perfect is that for dementia, right?
Jeez.
That
doesn't happen.
We got one of the girls, Barbara Childs from Dementia Mentors, is going to be speaking at the event. Like you did over in Colorado. Yeah, you got to get it's knowledge. And the problem is, it doesn't matter what terminal disease you're talking about. Nobody wants to learn about it till it falls on your lap.
Right. That's exactly right.
If you can get people to learn about this stuff before, but it just ain't going to happen. They wait till they're desperate.
Yep.
It's chaotic.
Well, Gary, I love talking with you. We're almost up, but I want to ask you one last question. I ask this to everybody that comes on. If this was the first video somebody saw and they just got diagnosed with dementia, what would you tell them? Knowledge
is power. You have to learn as much as you can about this on it. And I know it's hard. Put it this way, when I started caring for my dad, Facebook didn't even exist. Mm-hmm. There was nothing out there. I mean, we're struggling. I mean, doing it. I mean, that's what got me to write my first book on this stuff actually on it, because I'm like, there is no information on it. You're trying to go online, and it wasn't hardly even that online back then. We're in a whole different world now. We're walking around with a computer in our pockets. There's a lot of ways we can learn. I mean, simple stuff, bathing, sponge bathing. Now, you're going to get a point. You can go on YouTube, and there's some really good videos that's going to show you properly how to do it. I mean, there's things like that. Using the gait belt when you get, everybody thinks this is a one-person job when you first start as a caregiver. And unfortunately, they wait way too long till they realize I'm in trouble. And if they're in trouble, the person living with dementia, there is good quality of life living with dementia. And you know that. We just got to get them on track right away. And we need to get them correctly diagnosed right away.
Yes.
That is key.
And I worked here hard with our Dementia Friendly. We have on the website, we have information there about all the different Dementia Mentors, Dementia Action Alliance, Dementia Action International, all of these different places that all offer different support systems, whatever you want.
Everybody's different.
Yes, if you want a complete support group, there's those. Right. If you want to be social and talk like Dementia Mentors, this is where you go. If you want one-on-one, you can go there, And if you want,
every foundation's a little different, all the different little projects going on. Yes. I mean, so
yes,
if you're not happy, you haven't found what you're looking for in one, you try another one. I mean,
that's exactly it. Gary, I want to thank you so much.
It's great seeing you.
I know how busy you are, and taking the time to be on with us. I really do appreciate it, but I really want people to see what all you do and how much help that you provide for us. So I just want to thank you for that.
We're working on for you guys on. We're trying to get as much straightened out as we can on it. We got a long road to go, man. But I have seen a lot of improvements in 5 years.
Yes, so have I.
I mean, with city governments and all that stuff, man, it's growing a little bit. So, all right, I do appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Gary.
All right, thanks.
I'd like to thank the Dementia Action Alliance for their support on behalf of This Dementia Life. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. You can view other podcasts on our website, danow.org. Please join us again to meet the most inspiring and amazing people on This Dementia Life. I'm your host, Chuck McClatchy. And remember, the brain may forget, but the heart never will. We'll see you next time on This Dementia Life. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.